Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Lots of conversations going on privately with folks, and I had someone say this comment, and I'm totally guilty of thinking this before in my life. But it's one of these comments that often people will say or think, and I'm hoping to give some perspective on it. So we've all known that one person, right? So in our whole quest to be healthy and make better choices, hey Ashley, in our quest to be healthy and make better choices, we think, and then you see on the news how someone was 45 years old and was healthy their entire life and died of a heart attack. And we're like, see, that person was totally healthy and they died of a heart attack at 45 years old. One of my very dear friends, her name is Patty. Her dad is 80 and he had a stroke I think it was almost 4 years ago now. And I remember she was so angry and she was so mad. She goes, my dad has eaten organic his entire life. My dad has done all the right things. He exercised. He was never overweight. He was one of these awesome ambassadors for health, kind of long before his time. And she goes, I'm so angry that here he had a stroke and now he's confined to a nursing home and can't, his quality of life isn't what he deserves. And I thought, what if we looked at those people this way? Because what I said to Patty, I said, what if your dad was predispositioned to have a stroke at 50 or 60? And because of his lifestyle, because of those choices he made throughout his entire life, it prolonged his life another 30 years. Now, of course, we don't know that. There's no guarantee. But what if the guy that died at 45, that ran his entire life, and we're looking at him on TV going, see those healthy people, they die young too. But what if that same guy was destined to die at 25 and his lifestyle prolonged it to 45? That's how I look at it. And yes, we've all known those people that smoke, my grandmother smoked cigarettes her entire life every day and lived to be 100 years old. There's absolutely those people too, and God bless them, they probably have amazing genetics. But this is also my thought, because our food industry and how things have changed with what's in our food is still a very recent thing. It's only really been since the 1950s and 60s where our food has really started to be modified away from a whole food, from its natural state. Now, anybody who's 80 to 100 years old probably still had, even though they smoked every day, probably still at this point, if they're very, very old, still had a good 30 to 40 years of really good quality foods to choose from, and didn't deal with obesity and weren't taking a lot of medications. A lot of the medications didn't really become rampant until the 50s when birth control came out. So yes, somebody may have lived to 100 years old, but the underpinnings of their health for those first 30 to 50 years were probably really good. So their one vice being smoking, that combined with a healthy, good genetics, probably had your grandmother live to 100 years old. Because you know what? I guarantee if people that are born now, by the way, our kids, our generation of kids it's the first time in history, our generation of children's life expectancy is predicted to be less than ours. And that's pretty sad when you think about how forward we're moving with education, educating people and medicines and all these things, that their life expectancy is going to be less than ours. Now, that's a whole nother topic for another day, but it drives home my point that the foundation of health that you start with can propel you longer in life, in your health, even if you're not perfect, if that makes sense. So, yes, we've all known that person that's been healthy their whole life and may have passed away, may have just been their freaking time. And then there's, of course, the other person too, that wasn't, smoked their entire life and died old. But you know what? They probably ate really well, at least those first 40, 50 years, because the food wasn't genetically modified and processed in the early 1900s. So with that being said, I want to give you guys 5 reasons to Be ambassador for your health. Make better choices. You don't have to be a purist or a perfectionist. I am surely not, but I do try and make choices always towards health and less towards disease. And that's really how I look at things. And again, I am not perfect, but let me give you these 5 reasons. Number 1, your family. Back to the point I just made about our kids having a less life expectancy than ours is pretty grim. So you're leading the way. They are watching you. They watch how you speak with yourself. They watch how you engage with your spouse. They watch how you make choices. They watch how you react when you eat food. They watch how you react when you're stressed. They watch how you react when do you like immediately reach for medications, or do you try and go exercise to relieve stress? They are watching everything and learning. So even if you think, oh, it's all hogwash, think about the legacy and example you want to set for those kids and what they're going to learn. You only have 18 years with them. So why not set an example that's going to propel them into the next phase of the rest of their life with a really good example? It's not about you. So even if you make better choices for them, you're setting a really good legacy of a foundation for them. Number 2, if you were to face a stroke or a heart attack or blow your knee out, whatever, suppose you are faced with cancer or some awful disease, what better way to frickin' fight it than to be healthy? I mean, what kind of prognosis do you think you're going to have if you get a diagnosis that is just unthinkable and you're already struggling with all these other health issues? Why not be the most healthy person that you can be? So if your cards are laid out and they're not pleasant, at least you are the strongest person possible to combat it. Why not? The 3rd point, control the controllable, guys. You can control the choices you make when you go to the grocery store and put stuff in your cart. You can control a lot of things. You can't control the pollution. You can't control, there's a lot of things you can't, but you can control the nourishment you put on your family's table and in your body. So control the controllables, and food is definitely one thing you can control. The 4th thing, quality of life. I did pharmaceutical sales. I specialized in diabetes for many years. Diabetes is one of the number 1 causes of death in America. And let me tell you, it's not a pretty quality of life, because end-stage diabetes looks like having your legs amputated, being on dialysis for your kidneys, going blind, having sores and things break, your skin thinning and break, so many complications, erectile dysfunction. I mean, here you're supposed to be retired and living the life with your wife, and you can't. All of those things add up to quality of life. I mean, it's so funny. We'll save for retirement, but the biggest thing we won't save for is to live to get to retirement, to actually freaking enjoy it. Quality of life is so huge. And why not live in your retirement and in where you're able to go play tennis and travel and do all the things you've worked your whole freaking life to do, and be healthy enough to do it? And this isn't even just about end stage. I mean, this is about any age, being tired, not being able to go to the bathroom, having aches and pains and soreness, all of that, right? All of that quality of life. Do it for your quality of life. And my 5th reason is this: respect your body. There's a gentleman that is a paraplegic, goes through my neighborhood every morning, and he rides his bike. He's got one of those sit-down bikes. And man, that guy freaking every single morning, rain, shine, summer, winter, it doesn't matter. He is going. Because you know what he doesn't? He wants the movement. He wants to be able to do something that his body is limiting him. How many of you are inspired when you see someone with some kind of physical disability and you're like, man, they've got that freaking spirit to just go move. And then you've got the rest of us who are perfectly normal, sitting on our asses, making excuses with perfectly able bodies. Man, are we disrespecting our bodies and God's freaking gift to us to move and do something and use that body. towards fueling our heart and our energy and our adrenaline and all of that. So my fifth reason is to respect your body, because you know what? So many of us are taking way too much granted of our body. And so those are the 5 reasons to really get up, change your perspective about, oh, there's always that one person here and one person there. And just get moving, whether it's just walking and listening to headphones or something. Get out there with your kids. Be the change that you want to see. In America, that sounded so political, didn't it? It sounded very Trumpish. But truly, guys, be the change you want for your family and set that legacy for you guys. Because there's so many positive things that will come from movement, and I don't want to hear these BS excuses that we all knew someone somewhere, because you know what? Those choices you make today may just prolong your life, and you don't even realize it. All right, guys, have a great Wednesday. Bye.